So my son hit me with a question, kind of situation he wanted to talk through that really, really, it kind of staggered me. Not instantly, but as I thought about it, it made me think about so many things, about myself, about life, about what it is to be a good person, and looking at it through the lens of him, who's my son, obviously, who I care about deeply, but who's also 8 years old, just made me appreciate how complex life can be, at least the way I see it, and maybe I see it wrong. So yesterday, so I guess I'll say it simply and then kind of work through it. He was upset because he was worried that it was too hard. Trying to put it in his words will also explain what he meant to say. I think what he was trying to say was it's too hard trying to be a good person. What he actually said was, sometimes at school, he'll want to be bad sometimes. Like he sees the appeal of being bad, if you will. And not in deep ways necessarily, but little ways. Like he doesn't like to say mean stuff. He doesn't like to say shut up or that sucks or bad things like that. But sometimes he sees other kids doing it and he's like, that seems like fun. I kind of want to do that. Or little stupid things, passing notes in class, right? And as he was explaining it to me, he was upset, like genuinely upset. And it was almost as if I could see this struggle going on in his entire body of like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I want to be good. I want to be a good person. I want to do the right thing because that seems like the right thing to do. But I also see the benefit. It seems like fun sometimes to not have to worry about that so much. I just don't want to have to worry all the time about, is it okay if I do that, right? And the way he said it was like, I don't want to get in trouble though. Like I don't want the teacher to be mad at me. I don't want that to happen. And I think that was just like a proxy for, I want to do the right thing. And when he first said it, the natural inclination, at least for me as a parent, is, one, you want to alleviate your kid's suffering and you want to give them an answer because it feels like you should. So my first instinct was to say like, hey man, don't worry about it. Nobody's perfect. You don't have to worry about this so much. It's good that you want to be a good person. It's good that you want to do the right thing, but you can't kill yourself in that. But as I started to work through that and say like, all right, what am I actually saying? I'm trying to alleviate that burden that he has of trying to figure out if he's doing the right thing. But is that right? Is that the right advice to alleviate that burden? If you alleviate that burden, you stop questioning, you stop checking. And my belief, and I believe it's true, is that it's very easy to do bad things. Now, again, if it's little silly things, maybe it's simpler. And if it's really bad things, it's simpler because obviously that's bad. But what about when you're not so sure, right? For kids in particular, it's so easy to find yourself in a situation, not saying he's been in it that I know of, hopefully, or maybe to some extent, but of like, you're with a crowd of kids and they're doing something that's bad. And maybe they're making fun of another kid. And it's easy to convince yourself, it seems lighthearted. It seems like everybody's doing it. It seems like it's okay, right? I don't have to worry as much about being right and good all the time. It's okay to just have some fun. And you do that. And now you hurt that kid. And to me, that's representative of this struggle of why that advice that is like, don't worry about it. You don't have to be perfect. Sometimes you're going to mess up. Sometimes you're going to be bad. Although that's true, if you follow that too explicitly, if you allow yourself off the hook too much, well, you could be a pretty shitty person. You could hurt some people. Now, obviously, if you go too far the other way and you are always worried about doing the right thing and it always has to be worrying about everybody else and I don't want to hurt anybody, well, now you suffer because that's your life is just... So that's what I think that grapple was in his mind. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? I know I want to do the right thing because I don't want to hurt people. But I see that if I take that path, I'm constantly questioning and I'm constantly checking because I'm never sure. If I go the other way and I say, well, I don't have to question as much. I don't have to check. Well, then there's a chance that I start doing bad things. And I don't want that. And then I started thinking, and I'm like, I think he brought up the question that I'm struggling with. I think the reason I make these videos, the reasons I do the podcast, the reason I think about this stuff all the time is because I have that same struggle. And I hate it as much as he does. I don't want it to be this much of a burden. I wish it was easier. I wish it was more carefree. But I can't bring myself to believe genuinely that you can just let yourself off the hook. You can kind of give yourself grace completely. And somebody might say like, no, but it's it's finding that balance, right? Give yourself enough grace, be yourself, do you, and if you start to realize that it's going wrong, then adjust. And yeah, totally agree. But that recognition of when it's going wrong, what you need to do to adjust, all of that is so subjective. It's so messy, it's not clean. And that's still that burden. For you to be able to do that, you have to be constantly checking. If there's ever a time in which you turn it off and you say, I'm not gonna worry about it anymore, that might be the moment where you hurt somebody, you do something bad. So like I found myself thinking, really the only answer I could give him is like, I get it. It's hard. It's hard to be a good person sometime. And it's a beautiful thing that you want to be right all the time. It's this weird dynamic where you have to accept the fact that you can never be perfect. None of us will be. We're gonna mess up. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna hurt people sometimes. So you can't kill yourself over that. You can't beat yourself up over that. But in a weird way, at the same time, you still have to strive for that. You still have to aim for that. You still have to try and do the right thing as best you can while accepting that sometimes it's just gonna go wrong. And honestly, that is a burden. And I think for him as an 8-year-old, trying to process this and understand it and realize this at this age, it's almost too hard for him to accept. He wants things to be easier. He wants to be able to just have fun and do it and be carefree, or be given a clear playbook that says, these are the times where you do the right thing and this is the wrong thing, and it's just not reality. That's just not how life works. So I when he first brought it up to me, I didn't think it was that deep, although I had a sense seeing that grapple in his face. But as I thought more about it, I think it's the struggle that we all have, myself very much included. And I wish I could give him an easy answer, but I can't. I think life is hard sometimes. I think being a good person is hard sometimes. It doesn't mean there's no room for happiness. It doesn't mean you won't mess up, and that's okay, and you should forgive yourself. But you have to constantly be questioning and checking a little bit. Otherwise, you don't know. You don't know where it ends up. And that's not a great answer, but I think it's the best answer, I think.